Welcome 4-plussers and YouTubers to Battle Report 8. Today we find Dark Eldar facing off against a small orc horde. I will be playing my orcs and John is fielding his Dark Eldar. We rolled Purge the Alien as the mission with Hammer and Anvil deployment. It'll be night first turn, which is a boon for the Dark Eldar, but I rolled Defender of Cities for my Warlord trait, giving me Stealth and Ruins. And as you can see from the picture, there's a whole lot of ruins on this table. Let's meet the Dark Eldar. Starting at the bottom, you have 9 Reavers with 3 Caltrops. Nestled in the ruins above them is 2 Raiders, one filled with racks with 2 liquefier guns, and one filled with warriors with splinter racks. Across the bridge behind the 3 blue striped storage silos hides a couple of Talos that look suspiciously like Space Marine dreadnoughts, but rest assured, they are Talos. In that wall of vehicles behind the storage silos is 2 Venoms with 4 racks each, a Raider filled with warriors and a splinter rack, and a 4-man grotesque unit with Urian Rakarth, sorry if I butchered his name, he's riding shotgun. In reserve is a Razor Wing jet fighter. I believe this is John's first game against the Greenskins, and he's also testing out racks and Talos just to see how they work. The Orc Horde consists of 3 30-man slugga mobs with a knob that has a power claw in each one. 2 of the mobs have 3 big shooters and one has 3 rockets. They're positioned on both sides of the street and wrap around the back of the Ludas intentionally to keep the Reavers from having a place to land should they try and fly over something. In the center of the street are 9 killer cans and an orc dreadnought. The cans brought 3 big shooters, 3 Grotzukas, and 3 rockets. The dread has a Scorcha. There's a big mech in the slugga's position on the bottom of the screen, near enough the street to give all the walkers a 5-up cover save. In reserves wait 6 commandos with 2 Burnas. This is a pretty fun orc list. I've played it for a number of years. It lost some teeth in 6th edition, but it still fields a good number of bodies with my Warlord trait of a 3+ cover save and Ruins too. I think this is going to be a real tough nut to crack. I failed to steal initiative, so the Dark Eldar go first. On their first turn, the jet bikes move to try and set up a Blade Vein Caltrop run. The Raiders shuffle around to get a Jinx save and get line of sight on the front rank of killer cans. On the other side of the bridge, the Venoms pull up to get some poison shooting with their splinter cannons on the quad gun that's being manned by the Mega Boss. The Talos also step forward. I believe they have a Haywire blaster of some sort with an 18-inch range. In the shooting phase, the rocket cans get faced by Dark Lances and Haywire fire, and 2 of them end up dying, but 1 does survive, so that's good. It didn't give up first blood yet. The quad gun manages to make an amazing number of saves from the shooting sent at it, and it loses only 1 wound and stays alive to fire next turn. The jet bikes in the shooting phase do some measuring, and they realize that there's nowhere to land behind my lines if they go 36 inches. There's just more and more orcs behind the orcs that they can fly over. So they end up turbo boosting to the safety of line of sight block from all the long range orc stuff. Orcs turn 1, it's still night fight, and I have a cozy 3+ cover save in the ruins, so movement is small and simple. The orcs on either side of the street entrench themselves a little deeper in the ruins. The cans and the dreadnought all advance to get closer to the Dark Eldar vehicles and the Taloses. All the Dark Eldar vehicles have night shields, so my short range weapons are actually already a little short, or even shorter. In the shooting phase, the Ludas roll 3 shots each, and they manage to kill a Venom, and they only manage to kill it with like a Penetrate and a Glance. All his cover saves are like 3+ on his vehicles right now. The big shooters, rockets, and Grotzukas are ineffective or out of range. I did manage to get first blood and a kill point, so not a horrible first turn. Dark Eldar turn 2, the Razor Wing stays in reserve, much to the happiness of John as the quad cannon's still alive. The Raiders shuffle a bit more, and the bikes jump out into the center street to look for another avenue to Blade Vein. The Talos step forward to meet the wall of walkers head on, and the remaining vehicles back up a bit to keep line of sight to what they want to kill. In the shooting phase, the orcs are peeled back a bit in both ruins. I think I lost 3 or 4 boys in each one. That's the 2 closest squads. The quad gun is finally killed by splinter fire. The jet bikes, they go ahead and measure, and they see they're not going to make it, or it's not going to be a good trade for where they can land. So they go ahead and flat out to the other side of the board. The Dark Lance shooting and Haywire shooting is atrocious this round. Not a single can or walker dies. Orcs turn 2. The commandos stay in reserve. The orcs move to secure more space in the ruins. The walkers advance towards the Talos. Now that MCs are smash instead of armor bane like they were in 5th, I think if I can charge the Talos with just enough walkers, even if they're weapon skill 2 walkers, I can just weigh them down with the sheer number of attacks. In the shooting phase, the Ludas again get 3 shots each, and they mow down the Talos on the ledge. The big shoot has managed to take down a raider carrying warriors. In close combat, the Talos gets charged by the remaining rocket can and the 3 Grotzuka cans, flubs his random attack rolls, and gets cut down before doing anything. Not a bad turn 2, got 3 more kill points. Dark Eldar turn 3. Warriors from the shot down raider are going to take up position in the ruins across from the Sluggas. The Razor Wing arrives. The jet bikes get into position to make a run for my back corner with blade veins. The orcs in the ruins are peeled back a tiny bit from the shooting, just a couple more casualties on each side. The Razor Wing fires at the Ludas, 2 missiles, a splinter cannon, and a lance. It only manages to kill 3 Ludas though, due to the Aegis save and the fact that I got a Mega Boss in there that's got a 2+, and once he's the closest, he starts tanking those shots. The Dark Lances are effective this turn. They do kill the remaining rocket can, getting a kill point for the Dark Eldar and one of the Grotzuka cans. The jet bikes are finally able to make a move, and they blade vein over the squad in the ruins, but I make a lot of my 3+ saves. It's a decent turn for the Dark Eldar, but what we're starting to see is the 3+ instead of the 4+ save of the ruins is really starting to accumulate. The orc mobs are much larger right now than I remember them being at like the midway point in other games. Orcs turn 3, the commandos come on and end up with a nice double burn-a-shot lined up on the jet bikes. The orcs climb higher into the ruins, spreading out across more levels to limit template effectiveness. The killer cans and the dreadnought move towards the grotesque raider that went flat out last turn to get to its current location. The orcs behind the Ludas conga line on over to the jet bikes to try and get them locked up in close combat. In the shooting phase, the Ludas only get 1 shot each, but they do manage to score 4 hits on the Razorwing jet fighter and end up bringing it down. That's a good deal for me. All the other orcs shooting is directed at the Grotesque Raider, but it has either a 4+ or a 3-up save for going flat out and being behind that wall, and essentially I end up doing nothing to it. We use our WOG this turn, and we charge the remaining 2 jet bikes post the commando flaming. And amazingly enough, 1 bike survives and the combat goes on to the next turn. The orcs attempt to charge the raider, and so do the cans, and they both fail. So I got 1 more kill point this turn, not bad, but next turn a grotesque beatdown is coming. Turn 4, Dark Eldar. The raider moves to get a shot at the Grotzuka cans, as does the other raider, and the Venom moves to get some shots at the boys in the tall ruins. In the shooting phase, the Grotzuka can is killed, and the other one is immobilized. Close combat is brutal. It is exactly what we expected. It always is with grotesques. I didn't even get to roll a single die. Well, I did get to roll 1, and that was my initiative check when we went straight to combat resolution because there were no orcs within 3 inches when it was initiative phase 2. And they did get run down. But that was expected, so there's another kill point for the Dark Eldar. On a positive note, the orcs in the back were able to dispatch the final jet bike, so another kill point for me. Orcs turn 4. The commandos, the big shooter cans, and the dread, they're all going to advance towards the grotesques. We're going to use the same strategy on them as we did the Talos. Let's just pile everything into them. There's 2 kill points there, plus a Slay the Warlord. In the shooting phase, everything shoots at him, and we whittle him down pretty good, and this may have been a mistake because, unfortunately, it made the charge a little longer, and what you're going to see is in the ensuing close combat phase, both the killer cans and the dreadnought, they ended up rolling double 1s for their charges. It's worst 2 out of 3 because it's difficult terrain, and the only guys that made it into combat was the commandos, so they went it alone. And that turned out to be a really bad idea as well. 5 of them get killed. Somehow the one guy that doesn't get killed, though, manages to run away with his initiative too. So, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. That saves a kill point there. Dark Eldar turn 5. The Raider full of racks near the tall ruins, moves up and unloads its cargo. I don't have a picture of that, sorry. The raider on the right moves to get a Dark Lance shot on the immobile Grotzuka can. The grotesque set up for an assault on the big Shootakans. In the shooting phase, the Dark Lances finish off the Grotzuka mob and kill one of the big Shootas. The racks with the double liquefier guns kill the orcs back to 6-inch charge, which they end up missing, unfortunately for them. The grotesques don't miss their charge, and the aberration ends up just clubbing the last two big Shootakans into the ground. 2 kill points this round for the Dark Eldar. Not bad. Turn 5 orcs. We go ahead and move into charge position on the racks from the Tall Ruin squad. The Dreadnought steps up to the remaining grotesques. In the shooting phase, the orcs are going to kill 3 racks. The Ludas and the Dread Scorcha combined for 1 wound on the grotesques. There was some good cover and feel no pain saves there. The Dread charges, manages to kill 1 grotesque, and in the process he takes a glance. The orcs go ahead and charge and whittle the racks down to 3 left, I believe. And then the game ends. It's turn 5, and we roll, and game over. The score ends up being 7-4, so it's a very narrow victory for the orcs. It was a good game overall, but I think from the very beginning the Dark Eldar might have been playing a bit from behind. I'm only offering up 11 kill points with my orc army, and a lot of them are very big mobs. It requires a lot of work to get the kill point out of them. Contrary to that, the Dark Eldar are offering up 17 kill points, and many of them are on single models. So it was just a tough fight for the Dark Eldar. You know, if this had been one of those 6 objective games, you know, the orcs would have had a really uphill fight because they're not very mobile in this particular list. Anyhow, thank you for the game, John, and thanks for watching, everyone.